Pega, you already by default have some email integration capabilities. When I talk about that, I mean that you can essentially create a new case in a Pega application using by just sending an email to one particular mailbox. Then what happens is Pega already has something like an email listener. The listener will keep monitoring that particular mailbox, and then it will check if a new email is received, and if a new email is received, it will create a case. Okay, so keep in mind that in Pega only top level cases can be created like this, right? So this is called as email instantiation of a case using an email. Okay, so that is one important thing, limitation which you have to keep in mind, that only top level cases can be instantiated. Okay. So in our case, we can only instantiate and in our case it was just the we can just only instantiate our car insurance case and not anything else. Okay, so let's now if we want to integrate with the email box or a mailbox, a couple of things that you need to keep in another thing that you have to keep in mind is that you have to use the email integration wizard, which is like the easiest way to integrate with the external mailbox rather than going via any other alternate approach. So you can manually go and create those rules. There's no harm in that, but I would say that even rather than you manually going and creating those rules, it's less error prone when you use the wizard. Okay, so let me just log into this application. Give me a second. Okay, so maybe I'll just note down these points first. So first we have the class email instantiation. Which is equivalent to creating a new case the terms and conditions for this is only top level cases can be init, just for init using emails, right? And the other obvious option is for email integration is say you want to send an email as part of an inquiry in an insurance case, or for that matter any other BPM business scenario that we have. You want to send an email from Pega application, even then you can use email integration. Okay, then the other final option we have is called as DWA, which is given for directed web access. What this does is, this will help you send out an email with a link for a person to work on. So what I mean by that is, if you have a particular assignment that needs to be worked upon, then we can have the directed web access send across that particular email. Yeah. So we can have Pega send across that particular form that needs to be filled up, or that particular assignment if it is needed to be filled out by an external person. And you can send it as an email to him, and he would work on it. He would enter in the details and then get back. Okay, so you have for email instantiation, you have the option to send the email. Then finally you have the directed web access using the email integration. So we're going to take a look at how to do these. Yeah. So if, say for example, first let's take a look at the options to do the email instantiation. So if you see here, this is the top level case, 𝐬𝐸𝐴 claim, and inside this, if you see here, this is the email instantiation here. Let's click on this one, and you can see whether you want to start the case by just monitoring. So you can just click on this, and you can have the email account here. By default, there is already a default at example.com, which is dummy mailbox that it monitors, and you can enable the email listener. This is one way to do it. Now, what is key here is, like I want to show you guys, if you open this live instance claim, you will not find that email instantiation option here. See, there is instantiation, but nothing for email instantiation. Right. Now let's start with the email integration. So for this, you click on the Designer Studio, Integration, Email, and then you say that Email Wizard. Right. Which is generate rules for sending and receiving emails. Okay. So here you can see that what is the class of your work type that you want to create, and say cclaim. Starting flow name for us is py start case, which is the default starting flow. Then the other option is all right. Organization name, rule set version. You click next. Yeah, and I think it's important to say we like to create work. Yes. So you can now give here the email account name. You can say that I will give some random claims email listener. Folder name is inbox. So service package is similar to how we have a SOAP service, or for that matter any service that we already have. Yeah, so we already have a service package called as process work claim. You can use the same service package. Service class, the requester user ID. Yeah. So this, once we do this, click next.
So Rahul, what the requester user here?
So the requester, yeah, I think the requester user here is actually the email username and password, like basically the person who from within the Pega application who is going to request the email account. Okay, so when it has to authenticate with that email account, right? So it will log in into that email account with these credentials. Okay, which we can change at a later point of time. For now, we'll give this. Just hold on for a second. Let's complete this email integration.
Okay.
So I think yeah. So if you see, the service package is something we already have. We already used an existing service package, and the existing service package was AIG claim, one proc work claim. Okay, so yeah, so it just says that it will override. So this is a service package details. It's all right. Click next. Yeah. So now here we can give the email provider. So we can select Gmail or Yahoo or any of these things that we already have. We can say Gmail. Click submit. So the moment you select Gmail, it will automatically give this SMTP server host connection ID here, and I say full name is the sender here is the full name. So which here basically now what Pega is doing is Pega is just when we are going to use Pega to send an email, internally Pega is just going to make use of this SMTP server details here, like what is SMTP server, what's the port number. Here we can give the full name here. So the full name can be the name of the sender. So it can be any name that you can give. Okay, claims, let's say claims app, and we will say from claims admin at gmail.com. Now we can give something like no-reply.com. And here is where you will actually, and I'll use SMTPS because Gmail is on a secure HTTPS connection. Okay. Now the user ID here, you will have to create a new mail account, and then use it. So I created one. I think I missed the password for that. So I will just quickly create one mail account here. Give me a second. So you can give the user ID here, which is the email address of the Gmail account that we will create now. Give me like just a second. Yeah, so quickly created one. So if you see here, the email account is AIGI-claims@gmail.com. Okay, created this. Now what I will do is, so here I'll give the user ID as that. set the password here and submit, and then the reply to is a key thing that you have to keep in mind for this as well. So what happens is, suppose sometimes when you get an email from any of these automated systems, when you click reply, it generally by default, when you click reply in your mailbox in any email server that you're using, you will see that the reply to option or the email to which the incoming email that came in, when you click on reply, it need not be replying to the email that came in by default. So when you click reply, say for example here, say for example this one, right? Say something like this. If I click reply here, by default you would generally expect that you're going to reply to this email ID, but not necessarily. You have the option to, when the user says reply, you have the option to give your own custom email ID here, which need not be the same as the incoming email ID. Okay, so you can have this option called as reply to, which will give basically just a parameter on the email server header. Okay, so the reply to email address, you can give it as Pega or here I can just maybe I will give something like something like this, right? And here now when we are going to receive the email ID as well, this is the sender, which means that you're going to use this mailbox to send the email. Now you have the receiver, which again is, you can use the same email box to receive the email as well from the, like for case creation and all that. So here you can say the user ID again as same thing here. See here, so now it has created, to create even the email listener. Can you see here, this is the email listener. So if we were to log in into our SMA, so from the SMA you can see the new email listener. So if you go into this listener management, this will be the same design even for a JMS listener as well. For a JMS listener also, you will have to come and look at the listener management here. And this is the new email listener that we have created. So says, yeah, it's the one. We can just check if it is alive. You can see query. You can see more information about this one here. But yeah, you click next here. And this is the email account rule that is created. Let's open this one. So you can even test the connectivity here. Most of what we entered earlier. Let's click on test connectivity. and in the meantime, in our not enabling email instantiation for this, because the moment you enable it, it's going to, it might even spam the entire mailbox. So let's just yeah, we will enable it and quickly switch it off. But before that, hold on, let's see. Test connectivity. So this should give us, it's going to talk to this external mailbox and give us a little bit more information here. Hold on. So it gives a fail configuration. Let's see. There's a read timeout here, error. Let's see here. Let's see what's the problem. It says that SMTP host, I think the port number is wrong, or the server may be unavailable.
I think after changing that secured, port number has to be changed.
Yeah, I think it's a different port number for HTTPS, right?
Yes.
Yeah, so hold on here. So we can just say check here Gmail SMTP server port. So let's say what is outgoing mail server for Gmail. Secure connection. SSL is 465. Yeah. So its port is 465, and I think even for Imap also. So for Imap is the one for reading. This is the receiver. Is basically there are like two types of when you're trying to receive an email, you have the option to read the email and delete it from the system, or just only read the mail and mark it as though it is already read. Okay, so those are the two different protocols that are generally available, Imap and Pop3. So if you open Imap, let's see the Imap settings. This is 993. Yeah, so let's save this, and now let's click on test connectivity again. Yep, so it says connected successfully and disconnected successfully, so it's all tested fine. And now the receiver as well, let's test it now. And the receiver is able to connect fine. Now in the car insurance claim, let's do one setting here. We'll give the option, we'll put a local action, a case-wide local action to send an email. Okay. So what we will do here is, I think it should already be available. No. So we'll say that send email. An email correspondence. I think it has already some privilege or security or something that associated with it. So that's the reason it generally doesn't show up. You see here these privileges. Let's do a private edit for now and just remove these privileges. This is just for testing. In real time, you can save as that rule into your particular rule set and then remove those privileges. Okay. Or if you want to keep those privileges, you're free to do that as well. Right. Now, if you go to this enter claims information, that's another key important thing is whenever you're trying to use email integration, or for that matter any integration where Pega acts as a service, it's needed. So you should ensure that the particular rule set or the particular starting case or the starting flows. Say in our case, the starting case is py start case, but immediately after py start case, the case goes into this enter claim info SF, which is a screen flow. So you need to ensure that inside this one, you need to have the routing configured right. Otherwise, it generally gives out some errors. So yeah, so we have it already moved to our work basket. So we're good here. Now let's run this case. So we will have an option called as so you see here it's only transfer sending. Did we save this? Send email car. See here, that particular flow action doesn't come up. I think it's generally it has a problem with this privilege and security. But or we can just use send car as well. Alright, so let's done. I'm just giving this option even at the case level, I mean at the particular screen flow level itself. Let's try to refresh it here at the screen flow. I think I've disabled a privilege for some reason for that. This reason doesn't come up. Say shouldn't have work parties. Say, okay, this is another option here. Yeah, this was a reason why it may not have been coming up for us, because initially we didn't have any work parties. Let's just see here. Yeah, see, this is the one. So we see send correspondence here. Okay, and generally when you give the send correspondence, it has to come up in that particular option there with the work party here. Suppose the reason why we have this option is whenever you have an email account or when you want to send an email correspondence, it's generally to the work party. Okay, so let's add a work party in the start itself for this car insurance claim. So what I will do here is set parties, and then I'll say here customer, and then here I'll say party person, say customer. Okay. Let's oops. for example, here we can add the party. It needed to be saved. Hold on. Now for this one here, let's see the parties. This is required, so, and it's a new party. So I'll not give the data transform here. Root party is not there at the moment. See here, why was it not adding up? Customer. Hold on, let's give an operator for that matter. It should have, okay. So the parties not coming up by default. Wondering what happened here. Let's open the case type rule, and this is the work parties rule that was there. Let's add the party here, and says data dash party dash person, and I will say visible on entry and required. Yeah, okay, we have the party here now, and say I will say, okay, I will give my ID here. I'll create the case. Okay, now I'll say send correspondence, and you see here I have this option to send it to customer. So click next. So there is by default, okay, ignore this loss in the CSS settings here. That is because we are using the send correspondence local action, which is out of the box. We can modify this UI to look much neater. Okay, so the correspondence template is like thank you letter, or just say we can have an external sample. So these are basically just correspondence rules that come up here, which are already available. You can either use these, which doesn't happen. Say for example, I put something like new assignment. Okay, say mail priority is high. I click next. Okay, so you can see here this is the correspondence that is sent. Let's click on this one. Okay, advanced. Okay, so currently it has not sent the email. Like generally it's a I mean, in real time, it takes like about a minute or two for the system to send it. Okay, so we can just refresh it here. It says okay, so it basically, if you see here, it tried to send the email and then just hit error, and the error is it's trying to hit the mail connect except it's getting a mail connect exception. The reason for that is the new email configuration that we have done is not picked up by the system. Instead, it has picked up something, some different one, like something like sample.com, and then it is trying to use that port 25, and yeah, so it has made a mistake, probably has not done it right. So what we can do is we can check which is the email integrations, which is email connections which are already there. So in order to see the existing email connections, you can just click on this outbound email, and this would actually show you all the emails which are there in the system as of the moment. So here, this is a work pool. If you see here, this is the work pool name. So our work pool name may be slightly different here. Let's look at what is our work pool name. Go to the access group. Go to the advanced tab. This is our work pool name is ID is 𝐴𝐼G claim 1proc work is our work pool name. So you can see here that by default the system is trying to take this email connector. The reason for that is whenever you create the work pool, which is again a bug in the integration wizard, whenever you create the integration wizard, it has to select according to the current work pool, which it does not by default. So we need to come here and configure this default work pool to use the configuration that we have created currently. Okay, so you need to open this one, right, and then we will need to set the properties that we have for this 𝐴𝐼G claims here. So say, for example, I'll just copy this for just this minute now. It's a bug in the system. So the point here is that you should be able to configure, whenever you configure it in the system, it should ensure that it takes the working configuration that we have instead of trying to hit it with the default value. So you see the SMTP server name is also needs to be modified, and it should be 465 here. So TPS. Okay, I will just set the password again. And save here. Let's test the connectivity once. Right, so it's all right. And receiver. Right, everything is good. Now we will try to send the email again. Let's say new assignment. Let's refresh. So the moment the earlier email option that we had, so for sending email, that had broken. So generally what happens is whenever you try to send an email and it breaks, or for the matter any integration if it breaks, system automatically runs a problem flow which would send out an error saying that the email, I mean basically it will create a false mailbox, and I mean not a mailbox, basically a pseudo assignment which informs generally the work group manager that this email integration has failed and you need to look into this. So if you see here, this is the manager at the 𝐸𝐸𝐺𝐼, and it is just given this error here. Now what I can just hold on, let me just look at these options here. So yeah, now you see here it is sent correctly. It says claims admin, and hopefully I should have got the email now. So let's see here. Yeah. So here it says an item has been added to your work list, and it has created this mail. See? Now if I click on reply, you see here the email from which I got the email claims app. This is the 𝐸𝐺𝐼 claims, but when I clicked on reply, it gave me this claims admin. This is the reply to option I was talking to you about earlier. But it has now created the mail. I mean, I can essentially put a subject for all that, and sometimes this is, yeah, so whenever you have a DWA, generally this is how you will have this. If you click on this link, it will ask us to authenticate. So let me authenticate here. Can you see that I can essentially see the case here? This is how the directed web access UI will look like. So in DWA, just in additional to this, you will actually be able to see the assignment as well. Okay, so let's quickly try that. So say for example, in order to enable the DWA, so this is, we've essentially shown how to send the email. So if you want case creation using emails, then all that you need to do here is just enable this email instantiation here, option here, and it would automatically create the email here. You just need to enable the email listener, then it would start running the background process to keep monitoring that mailbox. Okay, so yeah, we can just enable it. Okay. Now the other option that we have, say the review information. Okay, so this particular assignment here, what we will do is we will assign it to an external person. So using DWA. So for that you just click on external here, and then here I will see for DWA, I think we just needed to, yeah, that's it for external. And so I will say that I'm going to route it to a customer work party. Okay, so because we already have a customer work party, click on submit, save this. And now if a couple of things you need to keep in mind whenever you select external is that if you go into the assignment details, you will see more information here. So I think we already did this once, like who's the operator model, this sample operator we need to keep in mind. How many days this email link will be valid, who's the party. I think the party is customer. and it will say that review your claim details of subject and all those things, right? So click submit. So we take a previous case itself, we just move the case forward. So, see here, let's now send the email to yeah, let's see the options here that we have. Yeah, send it out.
I think you didn't configure that correspondence, right, to send email here.
This is correspondence. Here on this assignment is where we have configured the correspondence. So the system just hang. Hold on. Hold on for a second. I think the system's just frozen for some reason. Give me a second, we're almost there.
Okay, Rahul, meanwhile we will just discuss about this authentication process, like how DWA will work. Actually, I have configured this DWA and I sent mail. It means all this basic stuff I did. So I just want to understand how exactly it will work. For example, DWA will send mail to external user. So that user doesn't need any user in PRPC. It means like in our application. So it will not show any authentication pop-up there. Directly when the user click on that link, it has to open the work object.
Right.
Yeah. To do that, we need to have separate access group for that, as well as separate rules for that access group. So all these things has.
No, you don't have to have a separate access group and all those things. So what you need to do is, if you look at the configuration a little bit more carefully, you would have seen something called as a model operator. Okay. So on the assignment, you would have seen that additional option there. What that gives is, that takes the access of that particular operator as a sample to do the authentication.
Okay, here you have one admin A, it means we have one operator here. So for that operator we have credentials as well, no? So how it will work here?
No. See, for that operator it has the credentials, but we are not talking about the credentials here. We are already telling that when you are sending the email from, when you are giving the access, you are saying that take the same access group whenever anyone with that particular link clicks on the particular link. So let's open this one here. I'll show you that. Now in here, in this particular assignment shape, If you scroll here, yeah, this operator model, not model operator, yeah, operator model. So you're telling the system what this does is, its job is to tell the system that use all the security aspects of this particular operator when you give the access. But it doesn't mean that it will ask us to log in as an operator. It doesn't mean that. It says that only the security aspect you have to use it. When you give it, you have to give the same security as this model operator.
Okay, if that user perform that assignment, then in the audit, will it show this user or external only it will show?
No, external. This is only as to be used as a template for
Okay.
the because you again have the option called as create new operator also. So if you want, you can do that as well. But here we are saying that we don't want to create a new operator. See that use the same access as that of a existing operator and then do the processing. But we use only the access, like that's why it says it's a model, which means that it's just going to use that as a reference.
Okay, it's clear. Thank you.
Okay. Yeah, so if you see create new operator, what that will do is only for that particular time frame, it will create the new operator and it will copy the security aspects of this operator into that one and then use it. So sometimes when you integrating with SSO environments, so you don't want to log in into Pega application. You want to give the same privilege every time as that you have in your LDAP directory. You can create new operator also in the system. Okay.
Okay. So once user clicks on that link, so it means it should not open any uh, credentials for that, and directly it will open that work object. So in between, what are the things will happen in the background? Just for my understanding.
Yeah, so let's see that now. Hold on. Let's open that particular case here. Let's send the email on it. Say this example itself. Okay. So whenever you want to see what happens when someone clicks on a link, is you have a tool called as Fiddler. Okay, I think you must have already been aware of that tool. So
Yes.
what the tool will do is it will actually run. Okay, I think I don't have Fiddler installed in my system. Give me a second. So what the tool is supposed to do is it is supposed to track all the HTTP requests and response and all those things. So how to do that? So even if say we are not using Fiddler as well, you can use we can use this Chrome debugging options in order to see this network calls here. Okay, so I click on this link here. Okay, now I don't think it doesn't show there. I think we will need Fiddler for this. This opening Fiddler, 1 second.
Okay.
Alright, so I have Fiddler here. So what this is supposed to do is it's supposed to capture all the interactions that I have with the browser. So let's see here. So the moment I clicked on this link, if I'll just do this again. So this is a freeware. So whenever you want to see what is actually happening, all that you need to do is just let's disable this one here for now. Okay, and I will just come here. I will click on this link. Okay, now you can see all the interactions that have happened now. The first one is, if you need to understand this particular link that was there, which was this link C-76. So let's look into this particular link that is there. If you see it, if you click on this link, you will find this href here, okay, which is to do, which was saying that go to this py activity work dash, and then it will say open, and the action is review. It's supposed to show the harness called as review, and this is the INS handle of the instance that we have to hit. So now if you look at it in from Fiddler, you will find that same request here. It says that go and sending a get request for this particular work object. So generally it will always be work dash open, and if you see it, this is the INS handle that is there. Okay. Now the second option that comes up after, immediately after that, you're making the request call, which is actually this one. Post that you have here. Yeah. So this is the response that you get back from the request that you made now. So if you see here, it shows all this HTTP information here, like what is a div ID, and if you carefully observe the div ID here and all the response that we get, the entire HTML stream that we get back, you will find almost all the information that we have here. Like say I say search for case details, okay, I'll find the case details also here. Will be in div ID, hold on, and then yeah, you can even see the embedded HTML section, the Pega social section. You can even see more of these HTML inputs. The entire stream that was supposed to be rendered, we get back. You get that as well back. Now we get multiple.
Has to check that particular user. It means like, oh, that user have what is the access group, and that access group have access to that work object or not. All these things also has to be checked, right?
See,
Model operator.
yeah, with the model operator, that is handled at Pega, and that is not handled at the that is not handled in the request actually. See.
Yeah. So initially I asked, no, what is happening in the background? So that thing I asked, what are the things it will be considered, like access group, rule set, like that.
So see
I understood.
yeah, see, the authentication would be the same mechanism itself, whatever we have currently. That whenever you log into an application, what is the authentication that the system does? The same authentication is what will be happening when you click on that link as well. Just that instead of you having to enter a username password, system will try to use the security credential of this particular operator, or not the security credential but the access of this particular operator, and then go forward with the processing. So
okay.
Specifically to your question, like what is like the step-by-step
Actually, my question is like, even if it is general user or DW user, once if we log in, or if we want to access any object, it has to check that access group, rule set, like this. All these steps has to be covered. No, initially I requested for this, I have mentioned using DWG. Why? Because here we are not giving any username password pop-up. No. Now I got clear. It means like using model operator that will be checked by Pega itself. So my question is, what is the actual flow to be considered while opening any work object or any rule? That's what I asked at that time. But now I am a bit clear. Okay, no problem.
Okay. So yeah, so let's look at the question and just once more. So every time a person logs in, a couple of things you need to keep in mind. Okay, so first let's look. There is a what type of requester are you is what will be first checked. So if you go to this technical, open this one here, something called as a requester type. That is the first authentication that actually happens. So the moment you hit a Pega application URL, okay, the first thing that has to be shown to you is this one here. Say, for example, you are logging in as an operator. Okay, then what happens is it checks. System will actually check, or no, even before you log in as an operator, you're trying to hit the Pega URL. Okay, something like you hit this URL. Okay, the moment you hit this URL, you are shown the login screen. How you shown the login screen? That is based on the type of requester that you are. Okay, so generally it will always be this browser type requester. So you see, and what type of system name that you have. So generally the system name is, during the installation you will give what is your system name, and here in this case it's a personal edition, so it will be PRPC PE. And if you open this one here, you will see that it will open this unauthenticated access group. Okay, so which means that you are this access group means that you don't need a login username password. Without that login itself, you can access the things in Pega. So when I say the things in Pega, here this just means the login window, which has that username, password, the logo of Pega. All those things are shown by the Pega server without you even having to log in the first place. Okay, so that is the first thing that we have. So if we see here, so the moment you hit this URL, you will be taken to the requester type as browser. Right. So after that, what happens is it will have the access group called as unauthenticated. Okay. So similarly, when you try to hit from with the DWA and other options, at the first step it will try to see what is a requester type, whether it is a browser. If it's a browser, it will first try to go and check this PRP, personal edition unauthenticated. Then what it will do is it will then challenge you with the username password, like the admin username password that we gave earlier. Once we give that, then it will take that particular operator ID, username information, and then move forward. Okay, so this is the first step here. Now inside this access group, whenever I say access group, it always will mean that you are talking to a particular application, and here this is a personal edition application, which internally means that you have these rule sets here. Okay, so whenever I say authentication here, so you hit this URL, okay, you have the requested type browser, after which you look at the access group, and post that, whenever next thing you have is the role and the rule set. So role and rule set is within Pega. That Pega will just check which are the rules and which are the rule set that you have access to, and that it will just show you according to that. That's all. Nothing more there. It will just check whether the rule that you are requesting for. Now important is, in the start of our class we had something called as a rule resolution checks. So there we will have the automatic check is whether you have access to that rule, whether it's in your work pool, and those things are checked. Okay,
Yes.
so this is then it becomes completely as part of the rule resolution algorithm. Whether you have the correct rule, whether you have the right rule set, and all those things. But till then, it just checks only the requested type, the access group, and then accordingly it gives you the particular role and rule set. So that's primarily the basic top level flow for, I think, what you asked.
Yes, yes, now I understood. Actually, while I configuring the DWA, we went to that browser stuff. We changed that authentic. It means what is this? We created an extra access group, and for that access group, we gave another rule set. And for that external party, we created some other user. So at that time, I was not able to connect those dots. Now I am clear.
Okay,
Yeah,
cool.
thank you.
Okay. And yeah, so I think now the additional thing that was requested for was for Jms integration. So I will talk about that now. A second. Yeah. So in Pega, generally Jms stands for Java Messaging Service. So it basically the Jms integration capabilities are provided by the application server and not Pega directly. So Pega just integrates with a Jms service provider and gets the information that we want. Like basically it will read the queue and those kind of things. So let's open a JMS rule, connector rule, and let's see what are the configuration options that are available there. Okay, so hold on. Let me open JMS rule here. So we say integration resources. See a JMS listener. So again, there are two things here. One is a JMS MDB listener, and the other option is called as a JMS listener. So the MDB and JMS listener, it's just when I say MDB, generally it's for IBM JMS listeners, which is IBM has their own implementation of JMS. I think it's called as MQ. But what's important for us to know here is to create our own JMS MDB listener, which will, like what I showed you earlier, the way we have this listener management for email listener, in the same manner we can have a JMS MDB listener or a JMS listener, which will just say it will just listen to the JMS queue and then create the case or whatever that we want in our system. Say for example, I say something test, create and open. We can't do this exercise. This is because yeah, you see here it says basically this has to be deployed as J2EE application. Currently it's on only on a Tomcat server. This is not an enterprise. Personal edition is not an enterprise grade application. If you see the JMS listener also says test. So yeah, and you see here you will have the service package, service name, method, and all this. This is like very similar to what we have. Now the key thing here is these JMS properties. So what type of JMS are you trying to listen to? So there are two types of JMS providers. One is options. Basically the options. The first one is called as publish and subscribe. Okay, so I will explain to you what that means. Okay, so you have say, for example, here. Yeah. Right. So the first option we have is called as publish and subscribe. So let's try to understand in terms of the literal word meaning. So what it means is that the JMS, assuming that the JMS is supposed to send us some information. Okay. So it has a queue of its own. Right? The queue like this. So what publish and subscribe will do is there is a person who is supposed to publish this information. So this is a JMS queue that we have. Okay, so we have some external entity who's supposed to be the publisher or the source of our information. So he pushes this information into this board. It's like generally it's called as a topic. Okay, so here on this topic, he publishes this information. Now we can have multiple people subscribing to the same thing. So which is, when I say subscribing, it means that people who are going to read this information. So in our case, we are creating a JMS listener, which means that we are also a person who's listening to this JMS queue or this JMS topic. So we can have, say this is one Pega application. Okay, this is listening to this. We can have an additional we can have multiple other people also listening to the same JMS queue, like say for example you have a Java application, another Java application, okay, also listening to this. So what happens with publish and subscribe is, irrespective of n number of cases that or the source that we have which is being published, what happens is all these people can always listen to this particular queue and they can know that okay, these are the topics or these are the information that is being published. The key concept here is we have the subscriber 1, subscriber 2. You can have multiple people subscribing to this, and this information is not deleted after it's published. Here the key thing is multiple people can listen to the same queue. Okay, contrary to that, you have something else called as point-to-point. What point-to-point does is, it's a slightly different approach here. What happens is, it specifically says that okay, I am the one who's publishing it here, okay, this one, and I say this information is for a particular person alone or a particular receiver alone. So I say receive. This information I'm saying for the receiver 1, and this is a receiver 1 here, and I just read this information. Once I read it, the system automatically deletes that particular data as well. So it is not published to a board or something like that. So consider it more like that. The first option that we had is being published to a notice board or something of that sort, which can be read by multiple people. The other option is it's a private letter to you, right? So yeah, so those are the two key concepts that you need to be aware in terms of the JMS listener. What is the messaging models, point-to-point, and publish and subscribe. Now after this, the other key concepts are, you need to know what is a session name, JNDI server connection factory name, what is the username, password. Yeah, this is the basic things. I don't think most of this is self-explanatory. And yeah, but yeah, so those are the things that you need to be aware of. Now from Pega angle, from within Pega, the key things that you have, other key things that you have to be aware here is, like the email listener, you have something like the listener management here as well. So under this one, once you create your own JMS listener, you will find that particular listener also available here, and you can look at that particular entity and get the information. So, but yeah, it's a basic concept regarding Jms integration. Key point for you is to be aware of this one and the listener options here. Can't show you an example on this because Pega is Personal Edition doesn't support Jms Integration. Right, any questions around this? Right, yeah. Alright, so that's primarily it from my end. Let me know if you guys face any problems in your work that you want to discuss with me in terms of design or architecture. I would be happy to help within whatever I can. And I hope all of you have access to the CSSA folder. I've given them access. There are a lot of questions there. Go through them. Recently, I think last time I shared with you what are the important questions. Some of my students recently cleared with those questions. So make sure you go through all of them. If you have any doubt on those, do let me know as well. Right. I think that's all, guys, from my end. Anything that you want to add on, let me know. All right. Okay then, guys. Good. Have a good time. Let me know if there are any doubts at all in Pega that you want to clarify. Okay. Just drop me a mail even after the class as well.
Thank you, Rahul. Thanks for your time and patience.
Yeah, no problem. Thanks, Evan. Thanks. Yeah, I think it is good that you're always following things and you had some interesting doubts. It's good. It's always good to have people there in the class. Right. All right. All the best, people. Let's stay in touch. Let me know if there are any things that you want to discuss further to this one. All right. Right. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye. Bye, everyone.
Bye, everyone.